You may have heard of this little tiny thing called the Royal Rumble curse, and if you haven't, it's best described as both real and a bit of an illusion. The curse in question has found its home in the number 14 slot in the Rumble, and it's cut through the luckless and the damned like a laser. Need some proof? Well, let's start from the beginning. Outlaw Ron Bass drew the number in the inaugural Royal Rumble. He lived a rare, low-key retirement before succumbing to a mundane death by pro wrestling standards at the age of 68. In 1989, Marty Jannetty drew the number, and like so many of his old-school peers, he lived the gimmick, and continues to live the gimmick. He's still rocking at midnight, falling afoul of various escapades, and overall just being a bit of a weird egg. Marty, a prodigious talent, wasted it with his attitude and demons. 1990's number 14 entry, Haku, wasn't cursed, but he did make the boy cry in that painting. 1991's entry, the British Bulldog, died at a tragically early age as a grim casualty of wrestling's drug excess era. 1992's entry, Hercules, died at 47 years old, and his wife cited heart disease as the cause of death, which, if accurate, is synonymous with the residual effects of anabolic steroids. 93's entry, the Berserker, left the WWF that very same year. But the curse was only just getting started. 1994's number 14 entry, Doink the Clown, or Ray Apollo as he was known without the makeup, was cursed to fail to repeat the success Matt Bourne found in that role. Though that is likely attributable to the shift from genuinely sinister and unusual presence to "it's such good sh** when the clown does pranks, pal, let's get him to do more pranks, ha ha ha, it's so funny." 95's entry, Jacob Blue, didn't last long as a Blue brother, but survived the curse through nepotism. 96's 14, Doug Gilbert, didn't land a permanent gig, and cursed his mainstream prospects forever by lashing out at Jerry Lawler in infamous fashion a few years later. 97's 14, Goldust, subsequently lived through a decade of personal turmoil. Ken Shamrock, 1998's number 14, you could probably say he peaked as a performer that year. 1999's number 14, Kurgan, left wrestling outright almost immediately. 2000's 14, Bob Backlund can only sell books via intimidation nowadays, according to Adam Wilborn. And if you thought once we got to this brand new millennium that things would change, you thought wrong. 2001's 14, The Godfather, couldn't get over again. 2002's number 14, Diamond Dallas Page, was also finished in the mainstream until his very improbable in-ring return, which happened just a few weeks ago on AEW. And now we're seeing a few cracks appear in this curse, aren't we? Then 2003's number 14, Eddie Guerrero, was taken away from us just 2 years after that event, as a second wave of drug-related deaths swept through a still rotting industry. 2004 saw the number 14 of Rikishi released that very same year. And in 2005, Orlando Jordan held that number 14 jersey, but was released the following year as a result of grim backstage behavior. 2006-14, Joey Mercury suffered one of pro wrestling's grisliest ever in-ring injuries later that very same year. 2007's number 14, Jeff Hardy, has fought himself with as much drama and injury as any of his violent in-ring car crashes. 2008's number 14 entry, Umaga, died a year later through acute toxicity. Finlay walked out at number 14 in 2009 and was released 2 years later after pulling a tasteless stunt at a house show, but later returned as a secret weapon and vocal supporter of the company's women's division. In 2010, MVP walked down at number 14 and he was released later that year. And Chris Masters did the same thing again in 2011. Then Jinder Mahal in 2012 actually broke the curse, and broke the internet, and broke the patience of pretty much every fan on the planet by capturing the WWE World title after an enforced stint in the wilderness. Rey Mysterio, of all people, walked out as number 14 in 2013, but he was sadly in decline as a physical performer and left WWE a year later. Kevin Nash in 2014 held the number 14 and he endured a public and physical falling out with his son, for which he was actually arrested. DDP again entered at number 14 in 2015 and was hospitalized with subglottic stenosis the very next month. Stardust in 2016 received the message loud and clear and successfully sought his release that same year, subverting the curse by very fractionally affecting WWE's bottom line via the formation of All Elite Wrestling. But alas, we have hope, and Kofi Kingston in 2017 broke the curse by capturing the WWE Heavyweight title 2 years later. And then the curse was formally broken by Shinsuke Nakamura in 2018. He became the first man to win from that position. That match specifically was expertly premised on the idea that fans had already fantasy booked the winner. It was then laid out to create the illusion that Nak wasn't actually gonna get his moment. between the dramatic "please not again" Roman crescendo and just maybe the manipulation of the fans' awareness of the number 14 curse. Despite everything I've just alluded to, it's obviously nonsense. Far too many wrestlers on this list under this criteria were cursed regardless of the number which they entered. But it is probably worth mentioning that the number 14 slot isn't obviously iconic as maybe number 1 or 27. It isn't really what you class as a pop spot either. It tends to be the case that the performer who is booked to enter the ring from it isn't exactly a major attraction to unglued the crowd early or wake them up late. No, number 14 is a person who joins the mass of indistinguishable flesh to maybe get a few spots in, and then hide behind the ropes as the middle phase of the match takes hold and waits for a real star to blitz through the field. In fact, number 14 is the number of the journeyman, or the disposable, as so often is the case. If WWE is aware of it, and that's a big if, that might have informed their decision to trot Dean Ambrose out at number 14 in 2019. As has been well documented at this point, Ambrose advised WWE of his decision not to re-sign over the Royal Rumble weekend. And we know from the events of the following Monday Night Raw, in which Nia Jax squared up and battered the Lunatic Fringe, which I still can't get out of my head, that WWE attempted to humiliate him on the way out. Did WWE attempt to curse him with this infamous entry number also? That he did emerge from number 14 is poetic, but probably a total coincidence. Probably. And in any event, Dean Ambrose, or more accurately, Jon Moxley, broke the curse by completely reinventing his career in the aftermath of it. He left and announced the rebirth of Jon Moxley. The actual return of Jon Moxley took place at AEW's inaugural show, Double or Nothing, at the thrilling climax of which he built a dream match in minutes by attacking Kenny Omega. It was an inspired angle performed brilliantly, and AEW expertly leaned on the idea that Moxley was a star who had been wasted to get him over. Yet, the reality is that AEW fans were always going to receive the former WWE punchline as a bona fide star, because WWE was the evil empire, so of course they were going to cheer for the dude who stuck his finger up to him. Moxley was even better in New Japan. He seemed to create this arc there as a response to how criminally underutilized he was. In WWE, he was a cheap, heat-seeking brawler. Whereas in New Japan, he showcased that versatile humor, but then also fashioned himself as an in-ring strategist. So, Kofi and Jinder aside, you have to sit back and admit that Moxley, with a large assist from AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling, was the man to destroy the curse of the number 4 entry number, if it ever was a curse. The curse has mutated over time to infect everyone from the journeyman to the prospective stars. Moxley found a way to break it, but it could re-emerge at this year's event and taint somebody new. We'll only know the answer to that question after January 26, and who knows, whoever draws the number in question may even follow down that very same path that Moxley forged in 2019 and redefine themselves completely. So that's pretty much all I've got to say about that. Do you think the Royal Rumble curse is legit? And if so, who do you think the next star is going to be to break it? Let us know all about it in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I've been Gareth from What Culture Wrestling. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm sure I'm going to see you soon.
Does anyone know any songs then?
No.
Really?
Clearly knows Wonderwall?
Not all of it.
How about we do a video channel instead?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, cool.
List everyone?
List.
Cool,
List.
list,
Yeah.
fine.
Woo!